Hey guys, welcome to another video on the Inside Spurs channel and happy Friday morning. I hope everyone was okay. I hope everyone is all right and look forward to a good weekend. Obviously, Spurs playing Sunday 12:30. Off the top of my head, I think it's 12:30. We'll be talking about Tamworth probably a little bit later, potentially. Maybe even tomorrow, to be fair. In this video, though, we got some charts news. We've got a lot to get through. We've got Kolo Muani news. We've got Rashford news. We've got Skriniar news. We've got Kulusevski news. We've got Joao Gomes news. And I think there's even more. Timo Werner news. There we go. That was something off the top of my head I couldn't think of for a second. So plenty to get into and plenty to talk about. So if you're watching this, you know, subscribe. You very much want to join us for the journey. Morning, it is Spurs. Glenn, Jake, Sonia, Bazza, Christian, Hansi. How are we all? Hope everyone's okay. So let's jump in and let's start with a little bit of Randall Kolo Muani because he's on the thumbnail. And Fabrizio was talking about the situation and he said that Tottenham and Juventus are both pushing. Manchester United called to be sort of informed on the deal last week. It's an open race. Spurs and Juventus are trying. So you would have to sit there and say Spurs and Juventus are the more likely of any team that is going to be in for Kolo Muani, grabbing Kolo Muani. It will be one of the two, right? And I think it's fascinating with the Juventus side of things because obviously they were linked with Joshua Zirkzee from Manchester United, which I've said so many times. They've been linked with Joshua Zirkzee. You know, there's links with Dusan Vlahovic leaving Juventus. There's also that. Obviously, you've got to remember Joshua Zirkzee, his manager last season at Bologna is the Juventus manager. So you've got to factor in those sort of things. Obviously, he's going to suit what Motta likes to do. He's going to suit the style of play they like to play. So if they weren't to get a Kolo Muani, I think he would end up there. I do. And I think in turn, you would have to say that would be, you know, you think about the striker merry-go-round at the moment of the market, you know, Rashford, which have an update on Rashford, you got Kolo Muani, Vlahovic potentially, Zirkzee, and all of those players are all linked to pretty much the same few teams, okay? So I do genuinely think once one domino falls, I think you'll start to see 2 and 3 fall straight after that as well, because I think a lot of teams are going to be sort of moving into second and third choice options if they can't get the guy they want, because moving not away from the striker situation, because I'm moving to a different player. They're saying that Marcus Rashford is enthusiastic about joining AC Milan. I'm not going to go through the rest of this article. I don't really care about it. But this is, I think, good news for us. I do genuinely think he isn't a player that would suit what we're doing. Regardless of if you think, you know, Rashford's a good player or not. I mean, the one thing that we could all genuinely agree on is the fact that if we want to play ange, we want to play the ability to press high to every corner of the pitch, he's not going to suit that. Now, AC Milan, under Conceição, maybe they like to play a little bit more on the counter side of things. Obviously, you know, they've got your Pulisic's and Leao's and Maratas and Tammy Abrahams. I mean, they're moving on from Okafor, I think, which I think apparently opens in turn to Rashford moving in because they should have the money for it. So, you know, there's something there for sure. And I think, again, that's like another domino that would fall to allow a Marcus Rashford domino to fall. Because if, you know, when we talked about it yesterday, Rashford was up for moving on from Manchester United, and he was open more so to moving to somewhere in Europe, you know, away from the Premier League. You know, you got to factor in that is definitely a domino that when it does fall, it would then start to trigger what happens with Zirkzee, what happens with Vlahovic, what happens with Kolo Muani. Because I think Spurs want to get a deal done for Kolo Muani ASAP, and I think that Rashford deal might be something that happens quite quickly as well. Moving a little bit away from the striker side of things, Skriniar flavor news, which in theory for me, I think is good news. Nicola Shearer saying that, as revealed yesterday, Milan Skriniar has an agreement in principle with Galatasaray, despite PSG having offered him to other clubs, Tottenham, Aston Villa, and Napoli. Galatasaray are now waiting for PSG's green light to pay part of the salary. 5 million euros from January to June. He's on big money. He's on big money. And Ruggieletti's saying as well, negotiations still ongoing between Galatasaray and Skriniar. The club consider him as the main target to strengthen the defence. The PSG centre-back has not decided on his future as he has many options on the table and is carefully evaluating the various proposals. So on one side of things, it looks like potentially that deal is moving in a way to Galatasaray, not to us. Great. But also there's a potential that he is maybe holding out hope for a Premier League side. Maybe he's holding out hope for Napoli, maybe wants a Serie A return, which I would get. And like I said, with Napoli, he would 1,000,000% suit what Napoli do. Because it's Conte. He suited Conte when Conte was with us at Spurs. So it makes a ton of sense. Hey, Big D, Matt, how are you? You're happy Spurs one. Fair enough, mate. Hey, Richardson, how are you, buddy? So yeah, look, on that side of things, let's just hope that continues, okay? Yeah, sorry, just to add this bit. Graham Bailey said that AC Milan are pushing ahead with their bid to land Marcus Rashford after the sale of Okafor. So there you go. That deal may speed up ever so slightly. We'll see about that, you know what I mean? Moving a little bit on, because I want to talk about Timo Werner. Now, I want to stress this one with Timo. Hey, Ed, how are you? I want to stress this with Timo Werner. If you don't know the situation to this deal, this isn't a deal that Spurs can just send him back. We don't want him. He's yours again. We don't have that power in this deal. The power in this deal lies with Leipzig themselves. If they do not want him back, or they do, there isn't another move on the table, they can quickly just shift him away over there as well. He will not be leaving Spurs. Okay? Just as long as we're all in agreement, because so many people still think we can just send him back whenever we want. As long as we're all in agreement, we can then move forward, okay? Now, I don't really rate the sourcing as such. It's not one of the strongest of sources, but supposedly Football Insider is saying that Frankfurt are plotting a move for Timo Werner because of the situation with Oscar Marmoush and Man City, which, look, I don't think Marmoush leaves them this January. I just got a feeling that they're going to try and hold out for the summer move. I think also, I just think Timo Werner's, they could probably do better than Timo Werner. But it's an easy deal as well. Like, if they are to move him in January, they might sit there and go, actually, what we want to do is just have someone in for the 6 months, and then we'll replenish in the summer when we've got the money there, Now, look, let's play the hypothetical that Marmoush does end up moving to Man City this January window, which isn't outrageous to say. I could see it. I have a thought process behind them wanting him gone in the summer, because if I look at the Bundesliga table, let's have a look where Frankfurt are first and foremost. They're third. They're 5 points behind Leverkusen. They're 9 points behind Bayern. They are 2 points ahead of Mainz, who are in the 5th spot, which is obviously Europa League on the face of things. And actually, tell you what, they're only 3 points clear of 9th. This is what I mean about some of these league tables at the moment. They are absolutely bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. I mean, looking at the Europa League, because they're in the Europa League, they are 5th. They are 2 points ahead of us, because we're the first team outside of the top 8. We're 9th. And they are 3 points clear of 13th, right? So it's what I say about like team players moving in January. It's such a difficult thing because teams are looking at it going, look, we'd rather hold on to him, sacrifice a few quid because we think actually we'll get money out of him and success in Europe or success in the league. And now Marmoush might want to leave because hey, it's Manchester City. We don't know if we'll ever get that move again for Marmoush, and that might play a factor. Which if it does, then yeah, Timo Werner could potentially be on the table. He is a Bundesliga proven player. German, all those things add up. Marmoush would help us. Marmoush leaving would help us in the Europa League. Technically, yes, because he'd be in the Champions League. Send Timo to Arsenal. I'll give him a lift there. While we're pushing for Kolo Muani, I'm not mad or something. Just confused because we want a player in, and I think obviously yes, he wouldn't be in theory used this weekend for Tamworth. He'd be used next week, early next week, when we have to deal with Arsenal away. And there's nothing wrong with having a player that teams don't truly know enough about where he would fit into the Ange system. And that unpredictability, I think, is always a problem for teams, you know? Dante, mate, how are we? But yeah, look, it's not the greatest of sources, so let's not hold on to it just this second. Right, Joao Gomes flavoured news. So I'm just keeping an eye on some chance news on my phone. So if you see me looking over here, it's for a reason, all right? Rudy Giletti saying Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham, and Man United have recently asked for fresh info on Joao Gomes. To date, Wolves are not open to considering selling him this transfer window. Only a huge offer could change their mind. Now, let me just bring up what chance market value I'm at, because I think with them we'll have a bit of an idea, a bit of a borderline idea as to what he would cost. So they reckon about 40 million euros, which is about, let's call 35 million pounds, right? He has a contract until the summer of 2028 with an option to extend for a further year. Wolves bought him for about 15 million. Yeah. Look, I like Joao Gomez. Yeah, we've been linked to him a few times in the previous. I like Joao Gomez. I really do. I don't see Wolves moving him on. I think Wolves are looking at it going, look, we've got Mateus Cunha, we've got Joao Gomez. You know, we've got some decent little players here. Andre looks like a good centre defensive midfielder potentially. I think what they're looking at it is going, let's hold on. Let's fight off all interest. Let's hold on. Maybe some gentleman agreements. Hey, we'll look to move you in the summer if you stay here, or Son, new deal. We'll give you a bit of a pay rise because you're going to stay. We'll move you on in the summer, for a good deal. That happens in football all the time. We've done it with Modric and Bale. It wouldn't shock me if other teams are doing it as well. Obviously, I'm not going to comment on that. I don't know in their world, right? I like Joao Gomez. He's young. He is 23. He'll be 24 in just over a month. Okay, so look, he's very, very young. He's not coming into his prime. He's still probably got another 2 or 3 years before he hits his true prime. It's going to cost a lot of money, though. I mean, if they're talking 35 million, that is like the bottom of the barrel. That's the bottom of the barrel on a worse day. He's going to cost above 50 for sure. That's my thinking, at least. When do I think next signing will happen? Well, I'd say, why don't we do a poll? Let's see what you guys think. Next signing, when? Let's have a look. Let's say this weekend, by the Arsenal game. Weekend following. And then weekend following. Beyond. I'm just going to put beyond. So beyond that weekend, all right? Vote in there whilst I have a chat, because I want to talk about Joao Gomez just that little bit more. Hey, Cozy, how are you? Lots of names linked again. I wonder who will come. Douglas Luiz linked again. Yeah, Douglas Luiz is still linked with us. He's still linked. He's still linked with a few different teams, to be fair. Fulham is still linked with him. Is it Forest? Let me check something, because I think I saw something about Forest. Whilst you're voting on the poll, I can have a quick little... I've just seen something on Tamworth. I'll hold that up for later. Thank you. All right, Nottingham, Forest, Douglas Luiz. Let's bring this up, because I think I saw something. I think it was Ekram Kanor. Yeah, okay, I've got a couple of things on Douglas Luiz. We'll bring that in just a second. Let's see this. Right, we've got 40% think this weekend, about 30% by Arsenal. So within the next week, 70% think by then. And then you've got 35% basically saying the weekend following and beyond for the next signing. So that's interesting. I'll leave it up there for a minute. If you haven't voted already in the poll, do by all means vote in the poll. Look, I think Gomez is a good player. He is not moving from Wolves this window. I genuinely think so. Why would Marmoush want to sit on the bench at City? I think they know they have to rotate better, and he would get minutes. I mean, he must look at that City attack and go, oh, "Yeah, I can add to this." Absolutely, I'm a player they do not have. I don't think they truly wanted to move Alvarez, but the money that they were getting from Atletico was so good. They were like, "We got to," So look, we'll see. But that's on Gomez. Right, let's talk about Dejan Kulusevski. So, like I said, I've still got to talk about Douglas Luiz because I've seen a couple of stories on him that I want to talk about. No, I don't. I think we might sign a midfielder, but it won't be a Gomez, that's for sure. You take Eight Nori. Eight Nori's been a good player. It's been a good player for him. You know, they've got a few good players at Wolves. They do. Right. Kulusevski flavoured news. Kulusevski flavoured news. Or as a person that doesn't know how to say his name, Kulusevski. Nico Schirra adding that in Napoli's shortlist as possible Kvaratskhelia. I think I've said that a little bit wrong, but I don't really care. His replacement, because he may be moving on. They're open to potentially moving him. They've got Zagrova, from Lille. He has been linked to them quite heavily. Federico Chiesa, which I think probably is quite an easy deal for them to do because he's not playing at Liverpool. And Dejan Kulusevski, which, hey, all it says, God loves the hopeful. God loves the tries, as they say. I think, every player has a price. And the price that you would have to pay for Kulusevski to leave Spurs will be more than you're going to make for Kvara. So it's not going to happen. He's one of the only players that can seem to stay injury-free at Spurs at the moment. So, yeah, he's not leaving. If they want him, they would have to send Kvara and money to us, which isn't going to happen. And it's not that I say Kulu's better than Kvara. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying for what he is to this team, they are two different players for what we want, right? Kvara is a left winger. Decky plays a little bit of 10, a little bit of 8, a little bit of right winger. He's versatile for what we are using him at the moment. And he's important. He's been one of our best players this season. You're going to have to break the bank, your own bank, and Napoli don't do that for anyone. So it ain't happening. And he's been linked to Napoli so many times, it isn't going to happen. But, I just said good luck to them because they're going to bloody need it if they want to try and get a Dejan Kulusevski. They can't afford it. No, not at all. He's not leaving. All right, let's end this poll. 50% actually say this weekend. So over 70% reckon by Wednesday next week, the next signing will be made. I'm not going to talk about who that signing might be. I'm just general view. 72% reckon by Wednesday next week, we will have the next guy in. Is that a Kolo Muani? Potentially. Could it be someone completely else that we have no idea is happening? There's also that. Right, Douglas Luiz flavoured news. The Mail said that Nottingham Forest have inquired about a loan deal to sign Douglas Luiz. He's also on the radar of Manchester City, Manchester United, and Fulham. Ekram Kunor also putting out a few hours before that saying that Juventus are... Douglas Luiz wants to listen to offers that may come in before responding to Nottingham Forest's loan offer. So this is a guy that's like, I don't mind the offer that I've got, but I also kind of want to see what else is out there. But looking at it, obviously, if we do look at it, he's a guy that's like, yeah, I'm on good money at Juventus. Like, I like Turin. It's a lovely city. I've just left the Premier League. If I'm going to go back to the Premier League, I want to be playing for maybe a club that's in Europe right now. There's that. Obviously, Forest having a really great season, but I don't think he would... Not suit. Suit's not the right word, but I don't think he'd want to play in a team as defensive as that. I think he wants to play in it because he's already at a team. He might as well just stay where he is if he wants to continue playing for a team as defensive as that. That's my thinking. When he was at Villa, they weren't truly, truly defensive. They used to get on the ball and play their style and play their football. And I think, they are somewhat missing him a little bit. And I think he would make a ton of sense for Spurs. A ton of sense. It's someone that I wanted a little while ago and we didn't get. I would like him now. He's been linked with Arsenal quite heavily and he's linked with quite good teams because he's a good player. He's not world class, but you're going to get a solid 7 out of 10 from him quite frequently. One of those sort of players. And also, if you are to get a loan deal on him, that's not crazy. That's not crazy expensive. That you put an option to buy in there, maybe. Again, it's that sort of thing of it's not crazy expensive. And when we talk about Kolo Muani, there's talk about they're listening to offers. PSG are happy for him to go to Spurs. they're happy with a loan. They'd like an obligation, but Spurs might make it an option, but with the idea that if he was hit certain things, it becomes an obligation and Spurs then would sign him in the summer. You could do the exact same thing for Douglas Luiz. Make it a loan, an option. If he's hit certain parameters, it would then trigger and become an option, an obligation to buy, which I think would suit a lot of people. I think if you look at our midfield right now, and yeah, you Archie Gray might step in there. You still got Madders and Kulu and Sarr and Bentancur and Bissouma and Bergval. And Bergval's emergence recently might make this club go, actually, if we were to get centre half, you move the midfielder who's playing at centre back into the midfield room again. We've got enough options in there to the end of the season, which if that's their thinking, I totally get it. And don't get a midfielder. Take that money and add it to the defense. Add it to maybe going for a left back. Get Regulon. There you go, mate. Oh, look, a new left back. That kind of vibe. I would probably be more on board with that because then I'd go, well, then Archie Gray's going into midfield, so I don't mind that. So if they aren't doing that and they go the Luiz role, I'd be on board with it. This weekend, Kolo Muani. Don't threaten me with a good time, Matthias, mate. Don't threaten me with that good time. I don't think the next signing will be someone that we're linked to. Interesting, Van Gogh, mate. How are you? I think a left back if Reguilon goes, but we really need quality forwards, wingers mostly. Summer window, we can sell and upgrade in different positions. We don't need to make we don't want to make a squad of Deadwood again. Agree, Cozy. I think that's why they're looking at a Kolo Muani, whether you like him or not, whether you think he's a great player, a bad player, anything between. He has versatility to play across the front line. And when you are down as bad as we are in certain areas of the team, having a bit of versatility really does not hurt. All right. I mean, the fact that Jed Spence can play a bit of left back has really just eased a lot of our pain. Because imagine if he was a terrible, terrible left back. We'd be sitting there going, okay, so Reguilon's probably playing now. And that's a worrying thought. That's a worrying thought. I don't understand why we haven't signed a defender. Lang needs to really make up for the signs that we made in the summer. Well, I mean, they are looking at defence, but I mean, we are also 10 days into January. Like, moves do not happen overnight in January. Kinski was one of those ones where they'd worked on it for a little while. And, Slavia Prague were probably like, we're going to get good money out of him. It's a good move for him and he wanted the move. But, other teams may not be willing to move players as much as they are. So you have to factor that into like the concern of every deal. Even with Kolo Muani, even though PSG want to move him on, PSG are happy to take a little bit of time to make sure they get the deal that most suits them. So that's why it just takes a bit of time. It's not FIFA or Football Manager, Winger striker is priority, in my opinion, based on where things are at. Well, I don't think so. I think I'd still say defence because you're playing a central midfielder at centre back. Until that gets resolved, there's nowhere else on that pitch that I want to look at more. That centre mid is playing centre back. I can't stress enough. You have attacking options who, people say whatever they want, but Kulusevski's looked pretty good on the right wing. Solanke looks fantastic. You got Mikey Moore coming back, and Richarlison's coming back, and Yang's coming into the fold, and you still got options up there. If you would take you've taken Archie out of the team, who are you playing at centre back? Alfie Dorrington, and then after him, we have no one else. There is nobody else to play there. So that's why I'm like, go and get the centre back right now. Ease all the issues. And when you do get a Van der Ven back, and you do get a Romero back, and you get a Ben Davies back, you go, that's fine. That's not a problem. We've got options now to play at left back, and a Doggy's going to be out for another couple of months. We've got options to play at left back, and then you feature in the fact that, well, that centre back that we brought in, he can play left back, can he? Oh, brilliant. Let's see what he's like at left back, and we'll rotate a left back and a centre back so everyone can stay fit, and all those things factor in, and I hope we do focus there personally. Where does it all leave Madders? This is the thing. I've seen it on Twitter. People going, I think Maddison's going to struggle to get back in the team. It's like Maddison's been one of the more consistent players for us recently. He's still a starter for me. I don't know where this whole thing has come from. Like, I've loved what I've seen from Bergval. I have. It's been a game and a half. I think we're all a little bit overreactive to certain things. Maddison, obviously, goals and assists this season, has had a really strong season. Now, Spurs as a whole haven't had a stronger season, and there's a lot of factors that go into that. But he has been good. Now, we could probably do better at rotating him a bit more and keeping him even fresher, because a fresher Maddison is going to help us massively. And the same goes for every player. If you can rotate them better and more frequently, and like think of Son. Like I said, if you said to Son, right, mate, you're playing once a week, the occasional twice a week if we need you, but it's a once a week thing, really. And he's going, once a week? Well, I can play 90 minutes once a week. And we're like, yeah, we know you can. And you're going to be fantastic. And you're going to be the energy Duracell bunny that we remember you as. People, are going, he looks finished. It's like he's in his early 30s playing 3 times a week. Players don't do that. They just don't do that. Especially in the Premier League, it's such a demanding league. It's okay to do it in our Liga when you're playing for a team that's going to have 65% possession and you can dictate games and dictate tempo. It's not like that in the Premier League. You look at Ipswich recently, drew away to Fulham, beat Chelsea at home, beat us away. You look at Wolves recently, a bit of form picked up. So it's not that sort of league. Look at Man City. Absolutely down in the dumps, I mean, Forest are second. No offense to Nottingham Forest. Nobody predicted Forest to be second right now in the league. Not even Forest fans themselves. There'll be the odd one that goes, actually, I predicted us to win the title. It's like, you didn't truly believe that, did you? Man United fans didn't expect themselves to be, 13th, 14th, whatever they are in the league. So it's hard to predict this league, and it's not a league where you are going to win 10 games in a row. It's just not that league at the moment. Unless you're Liverpool, but they're the best team in the world. Arsenal, without Saka, look a completely different team. They didn't have Odegaard for a little while, looked at a completely different team. Chelsea, bang out of form at the moment. Was it 4 in a row without winning? Losing to Fulham, losing to Ipswich. So it's just not one of those leagues. But if you can get Son to play once a week, you go once a week, mate. Man City away, once a week. We've seen what you've done to Rico Lewis. We've seen what you've done to a Kyle Walker in the past. We don't need you in the week, mate. We're not even putting you on the bench. You're getting a whole week off rest. And then you go, right, off you go at the weekend, all guns blazing. You will see a 25% better Son. And a 25% better Son than he is right now is a really good player still. That's my attitude with all players. Think of Mickey Van der Ven and Romero. Mate, you're going to get some rest. Need you occasionally twice a week, but it's going to be a once a week kind of vibe. They're sitting there going, you're going to see an absolute outrageous bit of football from us then once a week. And it's like, yeah. Pedro Porro, right? I think since that 6-day break, I thought he was good against Newcastle and I thought he was really good against Liverpool. Can you imagine Pedro Porro once a week again? Once a week last season, he was really solid. Because then you got Spence now. And the way I look at Spence is you go, right, I don't want to see us getting linked to any right backs anymore. Those two, I'm absolutely A-okay with those two being my right backs now. Got Destiny at left back. We need someone out there with him. Because imagine Destiny Doggy with once a week football as well. You've got 2 keepers now, potentially. It's only 1 game with Kinski, but we've liked what we've seen so far. That's my attitude towards this, And I know I've just rambled there, so apologies. I've spoken some absolute nonsense probably. You're probably sitting there going, why am I watching this guy? He's an idiot. And I'll go, that's because you like summer fruit squash like me, all right? And then you go, yeah, I do actually. I think too much hate at Reguilon. No, I don't think anyone should hate on Reguilon. I just don't rate him. There's not hating. It's just I don't rate him, Spurs can't find a deal for a centre back. Do you think Fitz should be recalled? No. Might as well keep him at Stoke. He's in a good run of form at Stoke. I think 3 clean sheets in a row at the moment, if I remember correctly. We definitely need a left back / centre back, as when Vuskovic arrives, then he's straight into the mix. Well, yeah, there's that. There's that. Vuskovic coming in next summer. That's a player you can add in there. But I don't want to see Mickey Van der Ven as that optional left back rotational piece. I'm not there. I'm not there with that idea. But I would like a left back who can play centre back, like a la Ben Davies, but like just a way younger Ben Davies, Excuse me. Hate is where it comes from, Andy. All the other players who they like to slate. Well, that's potentially true, especially at press team, that's sure. Madison's not been a regular starter. Well, no, he's not been a regular starter because we have tried to rotate a little bit and he's been ill recently. But Madison on top form can actually control a game better than anyone else in our whole team. Barring Romero, ironically. Romero's great at dictating a bit of play. But, recently I've been watching some games. Like, you think Madison against Liverpool, oh my God, he would have controlled that game so much better, you know? Sleeper selected as well. We've had players to rotate that defensive. Also, Drago was on the bench. Spencer, when he looked at the squad management, was very poor early on. I don't think he truly trusted them. And I think the irony to the situation is he's had to then trust them, and it's paid up. That is that he's now gone and looked at Spencer and gone, actually, he's looked pretty good. And the irony to it all is sometimes you have to play the hand you're forced with. It's like playing poker, and you're down on your chips, and you're the big blind, and that's all your chips. You're all in, and you've got 8-4. You're like, well, I've got to play. And lo and behold, an 8 and a 4 come out of the flop. You're like, hang on, I can play here. I've got 2 pair. So that's the idea of it now. Was Kuti at the game against Liverpool? If not, where is he? He's been with the squads. This whole thing on Twitter is like, where he's not been at the games. And it's like, you mean Romero holding his child standing next to injured Vicario? I am seeing that, he has been at the games. The Madison against City was great. Yeah, brilliant. Mittelstadt, yeah, potentially. I do think we'll sign someone known trust to find some gems. Well, look, I mean, they turn out anything like his debut. We're on for a rocker. Spence had a groin injury after Coventry for a few weeks. Yeah, he was out for a little while as well. So look, some really good stuff. Well, quick little look. I'm going to have a quick little look on Twitter. Just see if there's any transfer news I need to give a damn about. Right. Okay, there might be something here. So Tutor Sport, I reckon that Kolo Muani has said yes to Juventus. Interesting. That is interesting for... That's interesting for a couple of reasons. I mean, so many people are saying that a move is imminent, which I don't believe for a second a move is imminent. Not at all. But if it is Juventus are, moving ahead with him. Well, you got Archie, I see that. But if they are moving on from him, it's like, oh, Spurs, what are the other options Spurs are looking at? Because like I said, they do a lot of their business quiet. This has not been quiet. I'd love to know because if they aren't to get a Kolo Muani, I think they probably have something lined up. If you know what I mean. But we shall see on that one. But look, we'll keep an eye on it. Give you a heads up. Later on, potentially today, if not tomorrow, we'll be doing the Tamworth preview for Sunday's 12:30 game. I still need to watch some Tamworth highlights. I've got something to bring in, but we'll do that another time. And obviously, we'll keep an eye out for chance news. We'll go live if and when something is to happen. But yeah, no, nothing now. So yeah, good video. Obviously, talked about Kolo Muani, talked about Rashford and Skriniar and Douglas Luiz and Kulusevski and Werner. Loads of stuff in there. Thank you all so much for joining me today and liking and interacting. Always helps with the algorithm and people to see the channel. So thanks very much for joining me, everyone. Go and enjoy the rest of your mornings, your afternoons, your evenings, wherever you're on the world. And I'll speak to you all very, very soon. Take care, everyone. Peace.